Hidden in ancient texts, passed through secret circles, sacred information that in the past was held by few. What if reality is forgeable? This video is going to reveal occult keys that mystics and magicians have used for centuries to shape their world. From secret rituals, controlling of the mind and consciousness, to working with angels, demons, and communication with the divine, there are secret truths that have been kept hidden in plain sight, and we're going to dive right into them. For those of you who are new here, my name is Will, and this is the Esoteric Cross. I make videos about how to gain your personal power while learning ancient secrets, and if that sounds like something that you're into, please hit the like button and subscribe and gain insight from this perspective in the cosmos. The first thing that we need to establish is exactly what occult means. When most people think of the word occult, it can bring spooky images to the mind of witches and Ouija boards. To some others, it could invoke images of Satanism, conspiracies, dark occult rituals, and secret societies. The word occult comes from the Latin verb occultare, which means to conceal or to hide. Many of my people here who speak other languages might have picked up on this, and I've been learning Spanish for over a year because my husband and I only communicate in Spanish, and ocultar is a word that also means to conceal or to hide something. And of course, Spanish is a Latin language. Learning a new language has actually made me really interested in the etymology of words, and even how many of these words reveal occult secrets. So remember that whenever we're talking about the occult, we essentially are talking about things that are hidden. And a lot of the times, these things are hidden in plain sight. So yes, secret rituals and some conspiracies and really strange things do exist within this realm of the occult. But the occult is so much more broad than that. And a lot of people can jump straight into the conclusion that the occult is pretty much synonymous with Satanism. But actually, much of the occult is right there within the church. It's within every religion. It's about the esoteric underpinnings within these religions and what these symbols truly represent. Some secret societies hold this information very sacred, and then they keep it secret because the information could be potentially harmful if it's in the wrong hands. Another reason is that people might not be ready for certain information. And then you have people who want to control other people and don't want information to be revealed. The biggest secret of all is how this all has to do with you. This is actually all about you. Now, there are so many misunderstandings about this, and people who are not ready to hear this will probably be in opposition, and you may need a lot of time to let this soak in. But it has to do with what we would call the soul or the psyche. It's about consciousness. It's about how you operate and how divinity operates. It's all one and the same. You are divinity, and divinity is you. You are a part of divinity playing out the role of you. You will find this underneath the meanings of so many of the world's religions, and this is also the secret that many people don't want others to wake up to. Now, don't get me wrong, it's one thing to hear this, and then it's another thing to have the realization, and then it's a whole nother thing to actually live by that realization. Some ways to help with putting this realization into work is by studying occult systems. Performing rituals and ceremony can also play a huge role in this. And one of the best things that you can do is develop a strong link into the subconscious through intuition. Rituals do play a huge role within occultism. This piece is very important. And rituals are not satanic and dark and evil. They play a role within society and they play a role within religions and spiritualities. They are extremely significant as they are a way of connecting to the subconscious and the universal mind. And rituals are something that can be done on a mass level, and many people don't even realize that they're participating in rituals. Look into somebody named Mark Passio if you're ever interested in learning more about massive dark occult rituals. I can't listen to that for too much time because it can be draining, disempowering, and even distracting. But maybe that's just me. I still have learned a lot from his content, but when you have a stronger foundation within the occult, what he is saying becomes more clear and it makes more sense. And you can read between the lines a bit better. Now, with my content, what we do here is build a strong foundation into occult ideas, and I try to make things simplified and easier to understand so that you can apply these things to other situations and ideas. I don't get too much into the topic of the dark occult, especially because some of it is unclear and it could spread misinformation. However, with that being said, I do want to say that controlling of the mind has a huge role within the occult, and this could be bad, good, or neutral. And ideally, mind control is fantastic if you're controlling your own mind. It's also important to understand that we're talking about control over the mind, the psyche, the soul, the consciousness, and this happens on so many levels, and no one has control over your consciousness without you giving them permission to do so. You give the reins to them, and you do this with your attention. Being observant, conscious, and present is giving your attention back to yourself, and this puts you back into the seat of power when it comes to your consciousness. So much of this has to do with thoughts, feelings, and actions. And feelings is a huge piece of this because if you can control your feelings, then you control your thoughts and actions. Feelings are so much closer to the core of consciousness. Feelings are a part of this link into the subconscious, and the subconscious creates feelings within us which act as a compass which can drive our behavior in so many different directions. It is effectively a way of controlling behavior. Temptation is also a thing to watch out for, which is of course a big theme when it comes to spirituality and religions. You have something that is nice for the moment, maybe a quick gratification, and then a moment of release, and then you have the commitment to the life that you truly want and the consciousness that you truly want to embody. This is one of the biggest themes, as you can see within the Garden of Eden story. You can see this within the Lover's card within Tarot, and also the Devil card. What happens is a higher state of consciousness can come in when we commit, when we stay present and aware and observant of ourselves and the world around us. Just bring your attention to this triangle. I've talked a little bit about this in my last video titled The Power of Your Subconscious, and I'll link that to the top right corner of the screen, but the triangle shows thoughts, feelings, and actions. You see this come up a lot. Notice the three figures on the Lovers, the Devil. Notice with Tarot there's a figure between two pillars, Justice, the Hierophant, the High Priestess. These are representing the three pillars within Kabbalah, which is a very important occult system which explains a lot. You also have the two pillars in the middle way within Freemasonry, and you have several holy trinities within many religions. You also have the infamous all-seeing eye within an illuminated triangle. It's like a pattern to get a result, and it's a cycle. The result enforces the thoughts and the feelings and the actions. The future grows like compounding interest. This is the secret to the Fibonacci sequence, or the golden spiral, where we add the sum to the previous number, and now we have a new sum, and then we add that sum to the previous number, and it keeps growing. If we're not experiencing the life that we want, then we're gonna have to break that cycle. But how do you do this? It's through awareness, presence, and observation. This is where I want to talk about the key of the magician within Tarot. Tarot is, of course, a very important occult system, which goes hand in hand with Kabbalah and ceremonial magic. So here in this card, we can see a ceremonial magician. Within the magician, the whole point is creating the reality, and the magician is growing this garden, and the garden is representing the reality that he's creating. Also, what do you know about magicians? Generally, they are very good at creating illusions. The magician is an allegory for the mind, and the mind is really good at creating illusions. But the mind is the director of consciousness. The mind itself is not consciousness, but the mind is the house that consciousness dwells within, and it's where you point the mind that the garden grows. So the whole key here boils down to what it is that you pay attention to. Where attention goes, energy flows. And we have to be mindful of the garden that we're tending. This is a way of programming the subconscious mind, and this is planting the seeds and tending to the garden, caring for and nurturing the divine feminine form. Your presence is the most precious gift, and being able to nurture this moment and to give your fullest attention to this moment is powerful and truly is underrated. I like to look at consciousness as light. All consciousness is light. And this does not mean that everyone is good and positive in a moral sense. And it doesn't mean that divinity is good morally. But it does mean that consciousness has a projective quality similar to light. When you shine light into the darkness then becomes light. The darkness becomes fuel for the light. And this is the ancient art of spiritual alchemy. The difficulties of life, challenges, issues, and pain becomes the fuel for our consciousness. The light dawns on us, and we're able to look at the darkness directly and watch as it dissipates. Turning base metals into gold with conscious presence. You may see how this is linked to the core ideas within Eastern spiritualities. Diving into the world of the occult, we see somewhat of an organization of spiritual beings. I mean, you have gods, goddesses, deities, archangels, angels, elementals, demons, spirits, astral garbage. What in the world is all of this? I think that these can be very misunderstood. So many traditions out there teach of this one consciousness, one point of divinity, one center of consciousness, one source, one true God. Ultimately, there is one ocean of consciousness, but then we have all of these little streams that come from this. It's the same water, the same consciousness, but we have these aspects, facets, these focal points. A famous axiom within occultism that you may see states, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's all a reflection, and you're a mirror of the cosmos. Think of it like this. The structure of a galaxy is somewhat reflecting the structure of a solar system, which reflects the structure of an atom, or the system of the body containing organs to the cell containing the organelles. The same structure that we can find within religions, traditions, stories, mythologies can be found within the self, within your own psyche. It's an organization of your own psychological system, and interestingly, the same structures of society, culture, and even government can be found in the self. What I'm describing is the relationship between the microcosm and the macrocosm. Changing one is a cause for effect in the other. When society changes and evolves, so do we. When we change and evolve ourselves, we create these ripple effects. Ultimately, this is one of the big reasons for existing here and working on the self. Self-work is one of the most important things that you can possibly do within this life, because other people will see themselves reflected within you. They will see themselves reflected within you regardless. But the more work that you do, the bigger this ripple effect could possibly be. I know that this may sound cheesy, but you don't go out there and change the world without going through some form of deep alchemical experience within our own selves. Now, I want you to apply this concept to these gods and goddesses, deities, angels, demons, and so on. They're not separated from you, and they're not completely external. They are internal parts of the psyche, and that doesn't mean that they aren't outside of you either. They exist in all aspects of the universal consciousness, but it's important to remember that there is no real difference between that and the self. The self is just one focal point of divinity. No matter what spiritual system, religion, or tradition that you work with, be aware that this is a system of self-development as well as a profound spiritual path. One of the best ways to get deeper insights into these places is by studying Kabbalah. Kabbalah is a tradition of an ancient form of Jewish mysticism, and it involves this diagram called the Tree of Life, which is like a blueprint and a map of divinity. It attempts to describe how source consciousness creates reality and provides a map to unite with its divinity. It's actually very effective and useful when it comes to manifestation, creation, and doing occult work. But this Tree of Life actually can be placed within any other system. And I highly recommend learning more about Kabbalah because when you study it hand in hand with other systems, you can see them reflected in each other. And I often tell people in my Kabbalah classes to study it with something like psychology, Christianity, tarot, or ceremonial magic. Doing this will increase your understanding of Kabbalah as well as other systems that you're studying it with. So for example, I was talking a little earlier about the principle of three, and on the Tree of Life we can see three pillars. There is a black pillar, a white pillar, and a middle pillar. The black pillar is considered to be feminine and the pillar of form, or the pillar of severity. The white pillar is considered to be masculine, the pillar of force or mercy. Now this is not necessarily about male or female in the form of man and woman, but this is one allegory. The middle pillar is the equilibrium, the balance, the source of the two, and the result of the two. The right pillar is expansive and it is masculine and associated with white because it's penetrating and protruding. It brings life into the left pillar. It's the force that fills up and brings life into the form. The left pillar is the feminine divine mother because this is the form that receives the force. Black because it is concealing. Severity and mercy being feminine and masculine can seem opposite to so many, and I am no exception to that. But I want you to look at it this way. Form is creating, growing, evolving, but also restricting, limiting, and finite. A being that is born is a being that will die. There are challenges here within form, sometimes severe challenges, that push us to transform, evolve, and change. The pillar of mercy is not necessarily form, it's another dimension of being that relates to growth and expansion and force. Along this middle pillar, we find a lot of secret truths within many systems of the occult. Kether is the top sphere numbered 1 on the tree, and it represents the source of divinity. It is the point that comes from nothing, no thing. We could think of this as the central sun. Da'ath is the hidden sphere of the abyss, another mysterious occult symbol that you'll find all throughout mythologies, religions, and even modern media. Tiferet is the sphere at the center of the tree, the bridge of severity and mercy, the bridge of divinity and creation. Tiferet is associated with the sun astrologically and many Christ-like figures within religions. Any I am the light, I am the truth within any system. It represents consciousness and the self, more specifically, higher aspects of the self. You could say the higher self, which is connected to the divine source through this abyss of detachment. We of course see Yesod related to the moon, the astral energies. And Malkuth is the last sphere of the tree, which means the kingdom. It's the 3D physical reality in its materialism, results, the body. Now, this understanding was cultivated by practical work with Kabbalah and working with it in conjunction with other systems, which in turn helps to understand those systems and Kabbalah. I mean, you see these 3 pillars within Freemasonry with the divine source, Kether, at the top, the coffin, physicality, Malkuth, at the bottom, the pillar associated with form, the pillar associated with force. You see these 3 pillars within the 3 branches of government here in the US. You can see these 3 pillars all throughout the major arcana of tarot. What is the purpose of this? Is this all just psychological junk that doesn't mean anything and has no real concrete practical application? Well, not really. It kind of rules the world. The most powerful governing systems in the world use this stuff, and that should be alarming some bells within the mind. But how does this really work? You see, the human mind likes organization, structure, systems, and it works really well with these things. It understands these things and adapts to these systems and uses them as tools to affect the reality around them. Think back again to the magician creating his reality. He has these tools on his altar that aid him, but he's not holding these tools. It's because they're meant to be symbolic. It is ceremonial. What he's holding onto is a white scepter of power, which represents that Kether principle, the source point of consciousness, attention. He has access to his true power, which is what he is working with directly. The tools just aid through ceremony. I want you to think of occult systems as if they are magical tools to aid you in your journey. They are here to help represent something for the time being, and they will aid in growing an understanding that will flourish and create massive changes in yourself and in turn your reality. Going back to the subconscious, remember that it doesn't necessarily communicate with words. It communicates through symbolism and ceremony and feelings. The very foundation of the occult is on that right there. Symbolism, ceremony, and feelings. This is how magic truly works. And most people don't know that magic is a system. The first thing that pops into the mind when most people hear the word magic is doing card tricks, creating illusions, or maybe even witchcraft like worshiping deities, having altars, and then of course some people might think of satanic stuff. Magic is just creating the reality. Everyone is performing magic all the time, and most people don't even know it. But using a designed system of magic like the Golden Dawn or Thelema can be used in a more effective way. But using a system of ceremonial magic or high magic is basically following a structure that contains rituals, and these rituals are inherently ceremonial. They are rich with symbolism. You can learn how to do breath work and visualization with them, which works through your feelings. These are ways of communicating to the subconscious, and when you do this, the subconscious can start to communicate back. We become aware of these things that are going on underneath that surface, and there is a stronger intuition being honed in on, and manifestations can come about as a result. Many people get into magic because they want to manifest stuff, but truly this is a system of self-development, improvement, and developing a stronger spiritual, energetic, and intuitive connection. Manifestations come about as a side effect. This is a path to self-actualization, and if you're interested in magic, check out some of my other videos like High Magic or some videos on the LBRP, which is short for the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. It's the first ritual that is taught in so many magical systems, and it's designed to banish the 4 elements, which are the 4 aspects of your personal consciousness: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. These are aspects of us that need to be cleared out energetically so that we may be able to start building a stronger internal foundation. And if you want more information on that, check out some of the videos that are linked to this one, or you can just look up LBRP by the Esoteric Cross. Damien Eccles is also a fantastic resource for this. I'm also planning on setting up a specific class on the LBRP itself, so let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. But I am so happy to be able to go through some of these occult basics with you, and just know that there are so many possible paths in life. If something brings you peace and it's working for you, and you feel like the fruits of your labor are evidence that what you're doing is actually working for you, then you have something golden. Check out the links in the description for the courses that I offer, like one on tarot and one in Kabbalah. There's also a link to book a tarot reading with me if you're interested, and also check out my Patreon if you're interested in some live streams. As always, I hope that there was something new that you were able to take away from this video. If so, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.